think you said this really well. We basically kind of grew up with a handicap.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I have like a disability of sorts, like growing up Mormon, and now I'm not. And I'm like, I need to learn how to be normal.
I know.
What do I believe? You know, it's honestly, sorry, that was like... All right, welcome back, bitches.
Welcome to our podcast. This is Confessions from the Outside. This is a podcast that talks about womanhood and motherhood and the shit show that it creates.
Today we're talking about authenticity, which we know is kind of a cliche, overused word right now, but it's very monumental in both of our stories. And we're here to talk about basically our stories of how we felt like we were not living our truth for so many years of our lives. And I don't know, do you want to start with your story or do you want me to start with mine?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad that we're going to talk about why we want to start this podcast and just like kind of what we're doing to unfuck ourselves.
Yeah.
But yeah, so again, my name is Ty, and I am someone who is just like, I feel like I'm coming into myself right now. For the first time. I'm 40 and I have 4 kids. I'm a single mom, recently divorced. I grew up in the Mormon religion, the LDS religion, known by a couple different names. I'm not sure what it is now.
Yeah, what they rebranded? The Church of Christ?
I can't remember.
I can't remember. Yeah.
But
who knows? It'll probably change next year.
But you probably know them as Mormons, right?
Right.
And that's what we grew up in, and that's what we're going to refer to it as
the Mormon Church.
Right, right. And so, I grew up with this religion, and it definitely, I would say that it fucked me up a lot.
Sorry.
But you know what? I know a lot of people have been asking us, is this an anti-Mormon podcast?
Right.
No, this is it's definitely part of our story, right?
It's a huge part of our story. And no, this is not an anti-Mormon podcast, but it will come up frequently, probably with every episode, because it is such a huge part of our story and our upbringing. There's no way to untangle that from our experiences, because it's foundational to our life so far. Like our experiences, our fucked upness, just
well, and it's still affecting us. Like we're still unraveling, the things that we were taught, and we have earned the right to talk about it. So I'm a massage therapist, but I also started a YouTube channel during COVID. It was a fitness channel, and it kind of took off. And then I got divorced, and I just couldn't mentally stay in there anymore. Like editing that shit was so hard, and it was just taking so much of my time, and I'm just in a state of overwhelm. And one time me and Shani were talking about how fucking hard it is to be a single mom. Like, how do people exist in this space?
Right.
And so we decided to start a podcast to talk about it.
So we're like, it'd be a really good idea.
Adding more. This is our grand plan to make things better
Put more
for
on
ourselves.
our plate. Isn't that what moms do?
Right. Which, side note, we do have some ways that you can donate to this podcast. I just want to throw that in there, just to get us going, get us started. We would really appreciate it.
We really appreciate any help and support that you want to give. So.
Absolutely. So for me, I was really, really excited to be able to use my voice to help other people with my story.
Yeah.
I've always felt this desire and this need to connect with the world in some way. And I've been able to do that through my YouTube channel. And I was really sad to kind of let it go, but I couldn't do both. Like, people are asking me, when are you going to post another video? I'm like, it takes me 72 hours to do one video, and to even keep up on YouTube right now, you have to be posting 5 times a week.
Wow.
You have to have a team, and I can't even approach that yet,
Right.
And so, I'm here for my fitness channel and just kind of starting over, but I really love that we are doing this, and, very excited about just being able to sit here and talk. I love it.
Would you say that you feel more in alignment with this direction than, okay.
Yeah.
Well, great. Then let's keep going.
Well, we grew up in a very unique circumstance, and I think it's given us a very unique view on the world. So when you grow up being told what to think for your whole life, I think you said this really well. We basically kind of grew up with a handicap.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I have like a disability of sorts, like growing up Mormon and now I'm not. And I'm like, I need to learn how to be normal.
I know.
What do I believe? You know, it's honestly, sorry, that was like, I don't know why I'm doing the robot, but probably because you do feel like you're kind of just programmed. Do this, think this, feel this way. If you're not doing X, Y, and Z and you're not feeling this, then something's wrong with you. You're not doing it right. And it's so draining, you know, like emotionally, spiritually. Like I feel like growing up in this religion was very stifling for me spiritually because it was like I was told that this is the way and the only way, and it was not resonating with me in so many ways, but I just assigned that to being unworthy of feeling quote unquote the spirit, you know?
Right.
So it is very interesting to be on the other end of the stick now. Like where like having both experiences and like trying to fill in the pieces in between and figure out who I am. It's like, it's a fucking trip.
Right. And if you're not feeling what they're telling you, what you should be feeling it, then you're doing something wrong. You need to pray harder.
Right.
Pray harder. You're not trying hard enough. Actually, that's like the message from the devil. That's not right. Pray hard enough till you get the right answer.
Right. The answer that we have approved for you.
Right. And so, you know, we got set up very early on to not be able to think for ourselves.
Right.
And we literally were talking about this today, how, you know, I didn't really work on myself until, recently, till I got divorced.
Yeah.
And work on, you know, I get divorced and I'm like finding out I have this anxious attachment. Shit.
You're like, shit.
Yeah. And just growing and as a person and being able to look at people from a different viewpoint and accept that they're different and that is okay. Like my viewpoint on the world is maybe not the right way, or maybe it's just, we're just different and we can both be right.
I can't give enough amens to this over here because honestly, the lens by which I view other people has changed radically. And I'm actually still kind of working with like judgments that I just kind of had like my whole life, and I have to catch myself like, okay, I'm judging this situation or this person or this, you know, circumstance in a way like through my Mormon lens, even though I'm not Mormon anymore. And but it is truly beautiful to like see things through a broader, more accepting lens and really just like be able to think for yourself, honestly. And it's a little bit more difficult for me than I thought it would be, to be honest. I've struggled to kind of step into me, like who is Shawnee? Because I attached so much of my identity to that religion. And it's, like I said, it's been a really interesting journey and it's still in progress. So stay tuned.
So you are also a single mom.
Yes. I'm single mom to 3 awesome boys. I've been divorced for about a year and a half. And I left the church about 3 years ago, just like Ty. Our journeys are kind of similar. And it's been really like life-saving, like saving grace to have a friend that is going through the same things. But so yeah, I grew up Mormon for most of my life till I was about 33 when I started to go, something's off. Something doesn't feel right. I mean, there were, to be totally honest, like I was a shit show in my own personal life. I had made choices that seemed really out of character for me. There was a lot going on in my marriage. There was just so many things that made me step back and go, okay, something's off. Something's going on. Why? And so I started to do a lot of research into psychology, like the psychology behind human behavior and early childhood trauma. I just started learning so much that I had never learned before because I feel like my emotional intelligence was not developed properly, because in the church, it's like you have this religious format, but you don't have like this self-awareness format and that you're like taught or know that you know about. So when all of this started going down, I was just like, okay, something's off with my religion. Like something is off. And I started doing my own research and asking my own questions and having my own thoughts and feelings about it. and came to my own conclusions. And that was like, honestly, one of the hardest things I have ever done. It continues to be difficult for me to transition in this densely Mormon community. And most of my family is still Mormon. And I come from a fucking huge family. Like, I'm the youngest of 8. And
9 kids.
Yeah. So, yes. And it's just, it's a lot. It's a lot. And like I said, I'm still very much figuring myself out. But it really is... Like you had mentioned earlier, like it's a gift. It's like you're grateful for this experience, like to be able to see things from both sides and perspectives. So.
Yeah, it does. It gives us a very unique perspective because, I mean, like, just if you're not familiar with the religion, and the reason we're talking about it so much is because, again, it's very foundational to a lot of the way we grew up. And so when you're told
to our story moving forward,
like when you don't know how to order coffee until you're 38, when you don't know how to order a drink, I mean, it's literally it's kind of psychology 101, right? When you are told certain things, and we're told how to act, told how to think, and you're not thinking for yourself, those actions that you are having and that you are doing are not genuine. They're for somebody else. They're somebody else's idea, and you can't internalize it when it's not your own idea.
Right.
And I think that's what was really, really harmful about it, because I mean, I didn't really think for myself until, I don't know, 37. That's a long time to not have ideas of my own about the world. And you grow up with those ideas, with thinking, like these other thoughts come in and you have to dismiss them, because if they're not in alignment with what you are taught, then there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, they're bad. It's not, something, you're not doing it right. You're not living worthily. Yeah. Like there's very much a worthiness meter.
Right.
Which really fucked me up. So.
Yeah, I mean, like, you're reading about what we're supposed to be like in the scriptures. Mormon religion has the Bible and also the Book of Mormon. They are Christian because they believe in Jesus Christ, right? But they are, you're very much taught that you're very much taught that being a mom is your role. That's what you need to aspire to. And that's what all you should aspire to. You know, we're not taught that you can become president of the United States.
Right.
You know, you need to guard your chastity. You need to guard the chastity of the guy you're dating. You're responsible for their chastity.
Right.
If you have sexual thoughts, I mean, dismiss those immediately. But also, I mean, no masturbating, no sexual anything. Like, if you do anything beyond kissing, you have to go to the bishop and repent, you know?
Right.
And to someone who had a high sex drive as a teenager, I was constantly like, what the hell is wrong with me? Why can't I get control over this, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And I never did anything bad in high school. And I just lived.
But you just felt like something was wrong with you.
In this perpetual shame cycle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't I like covering up my body? Why can't I just accept that? I mean, there were so many times that I got shamed. I got sent home for wearing a dress that was just slightly above mid-rise, right? Definitely not this short. This was big no.
Yeah. Like, couldn't even imagine wearing something like that back in the day.
But even in Wyoming at my high school, I remember getting sent home for we weren't supposed to wear tank tops, but I had a shirt on that went to my shoulder. And it was very modest.
Scandalous.
It was a bodysuit. And I got sent home. I mean, that shit gets to you. You're like, damn, I am so like naughty and nasty.
No, it's very shameful.
Yeah.
It's very shameful. Yeah.
God, like, what is wrong with me?
It's so interesting because I think I mentioned this, but like where I have these judgments, or I had these judgments about people and the way they dress or what, you know, how they look, like anything that was like not muted. So like hair color that's bright or a nose ring or tattoos. Yeah, very much so. People in my family are not loud like I am. They're just not. And it's been a really interesting dynamic to like, accept that I feel like I'm weird and loud and I actually like stuff like that, but I still don't know how to step into that role because I was like, that was so stifled. That was so like, tone it down, tone it down, tone it down. Okay, you're safe. You know, like this is safe. This is what you're supposed to do. Stay in this box because yeah. And so I was really judgmental about people who did like really like bright hair colors, you know, like pink or yellow or, you know, or who basically like any form of expression was like, that's irreverent. And that's very much the kind of like mindset I grew up in, you know?
That's so funny knowing you now. I can't imagine you like that.
Oh, you would be surprised.
Did your family know you have a tattoo?
They're slowly finding it.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, one by one. I think there's like 3 of the 50 that have seen it.
Did I just let them know? Sorry. We can cut it out if you want.
No, I don't care. Okay. Oh, I don't care. It was kind of one of those things I did for me. And I'm like, if they see it, they see it. If they don't, they don't. But I don't need to go around telling them and getting anyone's opinion about it. So...
yeah, don't open yourself up to that. I mean, it was even, you couldn't even wear 2 earrings, you know? You couldn't wear tight clothing. I mean, just, you know, so much shame for showing your body. It's just a terrible way to grow up.
And now it's like so liberating and freeing to be able to like allow people to be them. Without, you know, just from my perspective, I'm not going around like having those judgments on, you know, having those judgments towards people. It's like, I see it as beautiful now and it feels so good. It really does.
Yeah.
It feels right. It doesn't feel like icky, you know, because I can look at someone and like see them and just appreciate them for who they are and how they're expressing themselves. And it's really fucking cool. Like, I love being in this place, even though it's hard as fuck too.
Well, and that's the thing, like, even I'm not saying this is everybody's experience in the church, because I definitely know a lot of open-minded people in the church.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. But for the majority of people, and even myself when I was in, I thought that I was really open-minded.
Right.
I really did when I was in. And but the biggest thing that I could never come to terms with, because I always had a lot of compassion for the LGBTQ plus community. And so with the Mormon religion, gay marriage is not allowed, you know? And being gay in the church has... I can't even imagine how hard it would be to grow up in that and be like, I don't understand why I don't like people of the opposite sex. Like, you know, I know a daughter of one of my friends that felt like a penis scared the shit out of her. She doesn't want to be near that. Can you imagine being in that space and like, what's wrong with me? Why am I born like this? Like, you can't change that. You know, and having that, you know, growing up with that. And I just couldn't understand why God wouldn't intervene. Like, why were, you know, what was going on? Like, were they really born like this? Was it just trauma growing up? I just couldn't come to terms with, I didn't think that there was something wrong with them.
One of many disconnects, yes.
Yeah.
One of those,
So,
moments.
And I just remember there was a gay student at my massage school when I went, and it was just kind of like my first like gay friend, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm just so shameful about this. Like in my mind, just always judging him but it's slowly through the year as my mind was like expanding and just accepting more people there that, you know, I just became to accept more of him. But after leaving, just definitely being able to look at a gay person like, I love you.
And
that's it.
Right. And that's it. That's it. There's no buts.
But you're going to hell. But if only you knew.
In the next life, you won't have those feelings. I feel like that's incredibly insulting almost. Like, something, sexual attraction and love and the need to like give and receive love is foundational, like to the human experience. Like that is, and to deny someone of that or to cause them to feel like they are flawed, like they are broken. Like I just can't even imagine. I can't even imagine. And now it, like you said, it feels good to be able to just accept
Yeah.
And love.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Okay. So like, what ways do you think that you were not being authentic to yourself growing up? Like what were some disconnects? I think you've discussed some of them, but what were some more that you thought of?
It's kind of hard to define. So yeah, I did mention just not really like letting the fullness of me express myself, because I felt like I needed to like be at a certain loudness level, which is down here, and like a certain weirdness level, which is like, don't be weird, 0, you know? And I do feel like I'm just weird and quirky. And I mean, I know you probably don't think so looking at me.
She has rocks in her car.
I literally do.
Every time I get in,
there's new rocks.
You went hiking again, didn't you?
You brought your friends back with you? But yeah, just very much kind of having this set list of things. I think, again, I didn't even realize I wasn't living authentically. I just thought I was doing what I was supposed to.
Yeah.
And I want to interject with myself for a second, because I do like what you said. I know some people who are very much solid in their identity, and they are Mormon or, you know, have a religion, and they're able to synergize the two very well. That was not the case for me. I very much took on other people's opinions and ideas, and especially my parents. And I have awesome parents. Honestly, I love my mom and dad, and there's so many ways like they're great people. But as far as like the religion goes, I very much took on what I was told was right, and what I was told was the only way. And so it was like, yeah, I didn't explore like different ways to dress. It was very muted. It was very like boring. And I still feel like it is. Like my closet.
What you wore Saturday night.
I know. I would love like more of that, you know?
Okay.
Because that was, do you remember I showed up at your house and I'm like, is this too much or should I change? And you're like, no, I love that you just went for it, you know? But for me, I was like, oh shit. But I want to. I really admire people who have like a big sense of style and unique sense of style. And I'm still figuring out how to be comfortable doing that, but I enjoy it. But I didn't realize that, you know, growing up, because I was like, I gotta wear clothes that are garment appropriate. I need to get married, you know, quick and have babies and like start my life, because that's what you do.
Will you explain the dress code really fast? What are you talking about there?
Oh, garments. Will I explain? Yes. So in the Mormon religion, there's ordinances that you do that are required to go to the celestial kingdom, quote unquote. And so when you go through the temple, you are given garments that go. I mean, I swear they're getting like shorter now. They're like,
I know.
I know. Who knows? Maybe they'll be like short biker shorts, you know, in the next couple of years. But they went down, you know, like to above your knee. Yeah. And then, you know, they're like kind of cap sleeved. And so you wear clothes that cover the sacred garment. Hot as fuck in the summer.
Two layers. Let me tell you. 2 layers all the time.
Here in southern fucking Utah.
It's 100 fucking degrees out today.
Right?
100 fucking degrees. That's
the
what
Mormons
it says
in
on
Phoenix
my
are
car.
Like, wah.
Oh my gosh. The what? The FLDS, is that what you said?
No, I said the Mormons in Phoenix.
Oh,
they're like, oh, wow, it's 100 degrees there. But yeah, the FLDS, they've got it a lot worse.
It's kind of an offshoot of Mormonism, and poor ladies, they pioneer clothes, pioneer
dresses down to the ankle and the wrist and
the garments.
And the garments.
Anyway, I totally interrupted you, but sorry.
No, you're fine.
So,
so that's the dress code. And so I'm just learning to adapt now and be like, what does Shawnee like? What do I feel comfortable in? And even just like what I believe. And I'm still figuring that out. I'm not ashamed to be like, I don't have that figured out yet, but it's very much a journey for me, and that's okay. I don't have to have it all figured out right now. I have time, and my ideas and my beliefs might change. You know, I might land on something and then learn more and it might change. And I love that it's this.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I love that you just said that. Where did I hear recently. It was the coolest quote. I'm going to get it just a second. It was something along the lines of the more sure you are about something, the more wrong you are.
I love that. Yeah, like the more I learn, the less I know.
Yeah, really. Because, if you're really set on things, like science changes all the time, the ideas of Mormonism change, I mean, when you don't, like you literally don't know anything about anything because everything changes. And so when you can accept that level of, okay, I'm comfortable, I'm just going to accept, different ideas about it. It's just a good way to live, and you don't set yourself up for failure later on,
Right. I think it helps you be more adaptable. What ways do you feel like you were not living authentically?
I definitely have talked about some of the ways growing up, I've always wanted to do things, and I was taught to be a stay-at-home mom. And I always say this with love towards my children because I do love them. But I've always been just somebody who likes to achieve things, I'm a go-getter. I actually do like to work,
Yeah.
And I didn't work. I was a stay-at-home mom. That was really hard for me.
I bet.
So much. I suffered through a lot of depression after getting married and like through the kid phase. I love parts of it for sure, but I always felt unfulfilled.
Right.
Yeah. And at home, I was always picking up new projects, and I'm sure I was driving my ex nuts because I was always doing something. Always. I just wouldn't sit,
Right.
I was the queen of like home projects, and I was sewing something or building something or painting a new room or doing something with a house, just always.
So it sounds like you were trying to like hold on to your identity like outside of motherhood. So you were finding ways to do that, like.
You're so smart, Shawnee. Well, no. Things that I can do at home, And I did get my degree, but I didn't get a career. And it doesn't really work out, 15 years later.
Right.
And that was a very huge disconnect for me. I'm like, I feel like I'm not living up to my potential in some way, And so when I started, I went through massage school because it was something I could do at home. And it really did start fulfilling me because I'm like, wow, I'm making a difference in other people's lives. Again, love my children, but that's just where I'm at,
Right. No, I think you can love your children and at the same time do things for you.
Right.
And personal opinion, I think that can help you be a better parent when you are in alignment with you and your needs, then you can attend to your children's needs more fully.
So, and I think that telling me that motherhood was going to make me happy was extremely harmful because it was creating this huge disconnect. I'm like,
right. So again, you're like, what's wrong with me?
There's elements of this that I really love. I love raising my kids. I had so much fun, but it was not completely fulfilling me.
Yeah.
Like they said it would.
Right.
And I definitely was somebody who should have had a career through the whole thing. I think I would have felt more fulfilled and less depressed.
Right.
And so here I am on the other side. And I know that nowadays, like the younger Mormons are more of the women are getting careers,
I think, it's definitely changing for sure. They're evolving.
But, and I had 4 children. 4.
Yeah.
With my anxious attachment and just my trauma from growing up that I'm like finally working on, that was hard. I think that was abnormally hard on me.
Yeah.
Because I can't handle that much.
Right.
There's some women I see handle it beautifully. No, that was not me. That was definitely a way that I was not living myself. And again, I would never give one of them back.
Oh, absolutely. No.
But
I'm glad you cleared that one up.
No, I'm just kidding. I bet. Yeah. So that's a big one. And then just near the end when things were unraveling for me with the religion and, when my ex-husband decided to stay in, that was really hard because I couldn't speak to the people closest to me about what I was going through.
Yeah.
And to not be able to share the trauma that you were experiencing was like huge for me. And it was a huge part of my divorce, Oh, I know.
Yeah.
How do how do you reconcile that? I still don't understand how people stay in together that aren't in the same boat, because one of you thinks that the other's going to hell for what, I mean, maybe not everyone, but you're taught that if the other person leaves, they're not going to benefit from all the things in heaven, the blessings in heaven. They're not going to the celestial kingdom. They're not going to the top kingdom with you. They're going to be at a lower kingdom without.
But don't worry,
family, right?
They can come visit.
Yeah, you can come visit me.
You're sure you want to? It's kind of hot down there.
And the people that stay in, they feel like they've lost you.
Yeah.
You are lost.
Is a huge, you feel a lot of loss, and not just loss of community, right? Yeah. Because you lose your community, which is just, it's grueling. It's hard. It's very, on a very survival level. Yeah. It's very intense. But they also feel like they have lost you. They feel this huge sense of loss too.
It's very real.
They grieve. It's like and it's a grieving process on both sides. It's really interesting, that dynamic.
But you're like, I'm better now. I'm happier now. And they just
right. Yeah. They're like, no, you're not. No. You think you are.
I will say a lot of my loved ones have definitely come around and understood. Okay. Yeah. And so I feel like I feel very lucky that they've had some of those experiences. But just at the end of my divorce and near the end, I just felt very misunderstood and going through this fucking traumatic time. And I was unwilling to put that back in the box. I was unwilling to ever live without exploring first, finding out what I actually believe. I couldn't. I just couldn't. I couldn't unsee things. I couldn't accept other people's ideas. I'm like, I felt like I had been lied to my entire life, first of all. Felt like I was in this marriage where this person cheated on me continuously through my whole life, and I just found out.
That's how it felt when you found out about the church.
Yeah, when I found out that it wasn't true. And I was just unwilling to ever go back to any form of that. And I know that near the end, I was doing things that were not characteristic of me. But there were things that I had to do to, I mean, I shouldn't say I had to do. I mean, there were choices that I made that I'm not particularly proud of. Yeah. They were a trauma reaction, quite honestly. They were. It was like, wait, I gotta find, who am I? I didn't get to have these experiences. And it was like, I was a teenager again. I was like making choices that were uncharacteristic of me.
Right.
And, and we're definitely going to talk about more of those. But,
we'll delve into that a little more in a different episode for sure.
So one of the things that I've been listening to lately, Gabor Mate, his book, That's What Happened to You. Yes. He's a Hungarian-Canadian physician, psychologist.
Oh, wow.
And he studies the link between disease and mental stuff, That's the scientific definition right there.
Mental stuff, yes.
Mental stuff. But it's, especially disease. In one of his books, he talks about how he had this couple come in, this 50-year-old couple, and this was his third wife that had died from cancer.
Oh, wow.
And he's like, he was so sad that his wife was dying, and he's like, she's the most sweetest, quietest, humble person that never complains. And he's looking at it like, okay, so when you're suppressing emotion through your whole life and not being who you truly are, it literally creates disease in your body. I personally developed fibromyalgia from not living authentically, trying to be somebody else that I wasn't. And I don't know, have you experienced things like that with your body?
Oh, absolutely. I will say too, little side note here. So I've dabbled with marijuana to help with my depression. And there's been times where it slows down kind of my thoughts to where I am aware of what I'm thinking and how it's affecting my body in that moment. But literally where I could tell that there were pains in my body that were happening at the moment a thought would enter my mind that was like a toxic thought about myself, or one that was full with fear or anxiousness. I started writing it down because I'm like, hey, I'm feeling it in my hip right now. And it was like a certain thought. Yeah, it's really fucking cool and crazy at the same time. Because your thoughts are, slowed down, and that's what was happening. I was like I'm like figuring all this like body mind connection stuff. And there's books, like this one. There's another one, and I can't remember. The Body Keeps the Score is another one. There's books that talk about how our thoughts and our physical well-being are like interconnected. You cannot like separate the two. And so, yeah, when you are harboring, like keeping in so many emotions and not like processing them in a healthy way and getting them out, like it's literally just like tearing up your body from the inside out.
Yeah.
And I can think of several people I know that have diseases that I am positive is coming from like the fact that they have a lot of repressed anger, a lot of repressed emotion, that
a lot of shame and fear.
A lot of shame, fear that they were never allowed to express growing up, and now as adults, same thing. They don't know how to process it as adults.
Yeah. So. And as a massage therapist, I literally feel this in people sometimes. I can feel the heat over parts of their body where I'm like, did something happen at this and this and this, Wow. I mean, like a lot of times lower back issues, money problems, or stress about finances, in general. And we literally store these store the trauma in parts of our body. So I love that you felt that. You've never told me about that.
Oh, I didn't.
No.
Surprise.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So, so some other things when you're not living up to your authentic self. I mean, depression. Can we say depression? I mean, I've already told you how.
Can we say depression?
Yeah. For me, like it was huge, and I know you're going to talk more about this later too, but it's just definitely something when you are not living in alignment with what you actually think,
Right.
It can cause actual depression. Yeah.
It's also like you don't trust your own inner voice. When you don't live authentically, and you also don't trust your own self or your emotions. And that's very true for me. Like I said, I'm still navigating that. Like I haven't figured my shit out yet, but it even just being aware of it is incredibly powerful. Now that you can name it and recognize that, you can start, working on it, and you can start like living in alignment with yourself. And you can, just being able to understand it is the first step in anything, right? So,
I definitely with the not trusting yourself. Isn't that how you grow as a person? Like you have to be able to listen to that inner voice, or else, again, it's not your own ideas.
You're taking on other people's opinions and ideas and thoughts and beliefs. And
another one was judging others. Like definitely, we've talked about that a lot. And then what about giving your power away when you are not living authentically? And the one thing I thought of with this is the tendency for us to, when we were in the church, to think that members of the church were good and people on the outside were bad.
And even if you didn't like necessarily label it as good and bad, that's kind of the idea around it. Like they're not doing it right. They're not living the right way. Yeah. And if it's not right, then it's wrong, right?
Right. So, that leaves you open for sexual abuse in the church, which has definitely happened, and at any church, right? If you think that they're the right thing, and then you give them that level of trust, you leave yourself open to their ideas that could be incorrect, if you're not developing that inner voice.
Well, the Mormon church is very patriarchal. And so it's like you give a lot of your power away to men.
Yeah.
Really. Honestly, for me, that was very, very true. I gave a lot of my power away to men and their opinions and because you're supposed to follow your priesthood leaders. So you're supposed to follow, again, my parents are wonderful people. But, I very much, even still to some degree, like think about what would my dad think about this and base my decisions off of that, right? Because he was the patriarch, the leader, and then it goes into the church leaders and the prophet, and you very much trust them over yourself. And parents, like we as parents too, we try to teach our kids what we think is right. But it's just like to a different degree and level when you add that religious aspect to it. So I feel like I gave a lot of my power away to men, and I'm still figuring out how to create those boundaries with men.
Yeah. I get angry about it, you know?
Yeah.
And I didn't realize how much it was. And I remember a couple of my friends, you know, were very much becoming feminists, you know, near the end of everything. And I'm like, why are you guys making such a stink? Who cares if we can't hold the priesthood? Does it really matter? And I love the excuses that they would give, you know, we couldn't handle it, or we got enough going on. We don't have to handle the power.
There's already enough on our plate.
Yeah. Motherhood is actually more powerful
than the priesthood. Or you do have the priesthood by helping those with the priesthood. Like that's my favorite one. Like you are just as instrumental with the priesthood by helping the priesthood leaders. Honestly, what the hell?
As like someone who was kind of an internal feminist and then realizing that later, just because I've seen my mom grow up with, being screwed over by men, and just so many women now that I see that really, unfortunately, have been screwed over by the patriarchy. I realizing how much we gave our power away, and and how. And again, fucking good it feels to take it back.
Yes, it does feel fucking good. It does. Powerful. And again, we recognize that not everybody has that experience, and that's not true. You know, that's not a blanket statement for everybody, but I do feel like it is a very generally true statement that it's perpetuated throughout the church. So moving on.
Okay, well, that's a little of who we are. If you want to find out more about this and this,
all of this, continue to watch, subscribe, donate if you're feeling tipsy.
If you're feeling tipsy.
Like tips. Get it?
Oh,
bad joke.
I'm
sorry.
like 10 seconds behind. That's funny, Shawnee. Look at you.
Sometimes I can be funny.
Yes, we are going to be coming back. So we love you. We're going to see you in the next one.
Yeah, thank you for joining.
Okay. Bye.